Hello everyone, this is CJ Novo 992 and today we're back for another brand new video and have a wee look at the length troops. It is a long one today, which can mean one thing and one thing only. Myself, Stevie from Four Lads Had a Dream and David from Heart and Hand have all once again got together to discuss all things Rangers. That's right, the return of the old fan favourite is finally here as we discuss what has been a kind of up and down start to the old season. And traditionally with the series, if you've ever seen it before, it will just be an audio listen kind of thing. On the screen you'll be able to see what topics we're going to be discussing kind of roughly. But again, make sure we get involved down there in the comment section below and sharing your thoughts and opinions on it. But aye, this one's a bit of newer, ladies and gentlemen, so I'll see you at the end of it to wrap up the old video.
Hello everyone, welcome along to another podcast with the three amigos. It's myself, Stephen Clifford, and joining us today is the man behind Heart and Hand, the boss, Mr. David Edgar. How are we?
I'm good. Hello everyone, we're back to save the season.
We are indeed, and it's YouTube sensation Mr. CJ Novo back to join us also. How are you, mate?
I'm alright, mate. I'm just glad we're finally doing this again because the run we've been on has been shocking, so we're here.
Very rarely do we actually get to use the phrase back by public demand, but in this case, I think this is absolutely true. Simply because last season, we did the show and we enjoyed it, and then in the summer we were all kind of off doing different things. Yeah. And rather than do the same show again, this is more just the three of us, three mates getting together to have a chat about Rangers. But as was pointed out last season, when we did do these, we tended to win. Yep. Therefore, not that we're madly superstitious or whatever, but here we are trying to do. But yeah, I mean, you take anything at all. We've all got these silly, daft superstitions that we do. I've got loads of them, too many of them.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
Yeah. It's part of being a fan, isn't it? It's trying to get control over this thing that we've no control over, that we let dominate our lives so much. But it's not a choice, is it? But then you get moments like the full-time whistle yesterday, or the full-time whistle earlier in the season against Celtic, and you remember why you put up with it.
Oh, beautiful, mate. Absolutely beautiful. Just watch us go on a run now and just see it change. Watch the back-to-back European wins coming up. And everything, it's all going to change.
I hope so.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say that it's completely down to us. I mean, it is.
Well, you don't. Yeah, I mean, the word hero gets used a lot, and obviously we're too modest to do it. But if other people, if other people were to do it, we wouldn't necessarily argue with them. We'll put it that way. But yeah, it's nice to be back. It's nice to be back on a high, with a good game to discuss. I thought yesterday was actually a good game of football. Yeah. For what it was, obviously Hibs had a certain tactic. It wasn't going to be open, intense stuff, but Rangers were set a challenge yesterday and had to go something to come through it.
Yeah, we did. I think this is probably the best place to start in terms of yesterday. It was. I think we all knew it was going to be a tough game. Rangers are searching for form, which I'm not saying we're, out of form. I think we're patchy. I think that's the best way I would describe it. There's 20 minutes good here and there in certain games. Yesterday we actually did hit some decent form in the second half especially. But it was one of those ones where I was more, before it had even started, I would take 3 points no matter how we get it.
Absolutely.
And I'm not really caring about much else. But what I actually got was something that I'd asked for. And we've seen it before in this Rangers team. But I got something that I love, and that is a team, CJ, that is just, it's got balls, it's got heart, and even when they're not finding ways to win, there's players in that team that will stand up. Take Borna Barisic, for example, who I thought was a shining light of it yesterday. Maybe not having the best game, could have done better with the goal, and he just keeps going and going. His determination creates a wonderful second. He had a brilliant interception about 89 minutes where he slid in and it was kind of reverse and he got his leg round, stopped it brilliantly. He celebrates like he understands, like he knows, and I just think that overall we've got something, like we're not quite there, and the manager said it quite a bit as well, but I just think that I'm not sure I would rather have it. That's not the right statement, but I'm bloody glad that we do. We have heart, determination and balls. And there was some good football in that second half yesterday, especially, and I was pleased with it. A really huge win. I thought we could have added to it at the end. We were a wee bit wasteful, but we weren't wasteful in that it was ever going to cost us. I think we were very much in control. But overall, CJ, I thought that it was a very enjoyable turnaround.
Yeah,
obviously there's big moments in the game, but a huge result.
Aye, I think it's one of those games that I mentioned this in my video as well. I'm sure you tweeted it as well, David. There was wee bit of similarities with the Motherwell game last season, with the exact same behind, no really playing well going into the first half, needing a bit of a gut check, and once again the Rangers team rose to the occasion. And for me, I can just look at this Rangers team, and I think that's why it's interesting to look at this one compared to over previous, where we do get annoyed and we get angry when we're not playing well or anything. It's just frustration with this team because we know how good they actually are, but it's never a question of if they're trying or anything like that, or if they're down tools. They try all the time. Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but you've got players out there like Goldson, who's playing injured right now. He played right through the entire game. Gerrard obviously said he wasn't a part of training. They were trying to work him through, and they were hoping he was going to come through. The big man went ahead and played the performance. Like you said about Barisic there, not playing particularly well up to he got his assist, but again, he's the ultimate confidence player. As soon as he gets that one moment of magic, it's like he believes in himself more. But even when he's no feeling confident, he'll still run through a brick wall for the team. And I just love that we've got this real togetherness with the Rangers side. And that's what that win was for me. That was just togetherness, sticking in it, because it's a tough team. Hibs have only lost once all season, and that was in European football up to that point. It was a tough battle. People can talk about the red card and make excuses, but I thought the red card played into their hands even better because they were able to keep with their five at the back. They were able to go even more defensive and just work on counters. That's what they were doing up to the red card after they took the lead in the game anyway. So for me, just like you're saying there, Stevie, you can look in this Rangers team and it's maybe no free flow and it might be no as good as attacking wise, but they've never ever wavered and given their absolute all, and that's all that one was.
David, CJ talks a lot there.
I do.
A lot of things.
I do talk a lot, yeah, you're spot on.
To be fair, you'd be a bloody terrible podcast guest otherwise.
Just going to start getting one for the answers. That's me self-conscious. Thanks for that, Stevie.
See if we were just going to sit there and do but if he was going to sit there and do a thumbs up, then it would be a pretty rubbish podcast, in all fairness.
CJ says a lot of good things there, David, but one of the key things that really stuck out was a word for me, and that's confidence. And we know that we're a confidence team. It's all about the second goal, etc. But kind of the things that we were saying there, do you agree with that in terms of the kind of heart and the spirit, determination, etc. of this team?
Look, every team's a confidence team. I think that we judge footballers as these two-dimensional creatures that we see, the match on telly, and we forget that they're human beings with lives and heads, and they're prone to the same doubts and feelings that the rest of us are. Now, everybody that I spoke to, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to speak to a lot of Rangers fans through the week, we were all a wee bit apprehensive because we knew the team wasn't playing well. We were very poor against Dundee, and I thought we were pretty poor, certainly in terms of chance creation, over in Prague. So the players are aware they're not playing well. They're not daft. They don't think that this is our top form. And the other thing I think is that when every team has got key players that the rest of them get a bit of reassurance from. And it's not just Rangers. I mean, Liverpool, when they've got Mo Salah there, Manchester United with Ronaldo, Manchester City with De Bruyne, whoever it is in world football, they have a couple of players on their side that they go, if I do my job, he'll get something for us. And for Rangers, those players are Tav, Kent, guys like that, and neither were there yesterday. And I think as well you see the difference with Connor Goldson just being there. I thought Connor Goldson was absolutely bloody awful against Dundee. One of the worst performances he's probably put in a Rangers shirt. But we saw what happened when he wasn't there in Prague, because he is the offside line. He is the organiser. He's the guy. Just his presence there brings an extra dimension to the Rangers team. And I think, again, you saw his leadership in the second half yesterday when he was stepping forward with the ball. So all of those factors combined, that the team are aware, that they're not at their best. Before the match, there's a very big sign of that by the fact that Nathan Patterson's playing. Now, the manager could have, after the match, said, Tav had a bit of a knock. And he didn't. He was open. He was up front about it. He didn't throw him under the bus. He said, Tav can play 55, 60 games a season, but we feel as a coaching staff we've overused them. But that's because we've never had the quality replacement that we have in Nathan Patterson to come in. which is a very legitimate point. We've not had anybody even close to that. But for him to do that was a great sign of faith in the youngster, but B, it's saying, Tav, you're not in the best of form at the moment. And I thought that Rangers going the goal down in the manner that we did, because from our point of view, it's such a simple goal. It's a good goal from Hibs. Nisbet, by the way, I think is a really good player.
Yeah, he's a good finisher.
Yeah, he is, and he's physically filling out, and he's got a bit about him. I know that people have said, should we be signing him? He'll probably go for about 5-6 million. While we have Alfie, then no, we absolutely shouldn't, because we can't be paying 6 million for a guy to do what would be the Itten role, in all honesty, at the moment. Yeah. Is he going to get in the team ahead of Alfie? No. So, maybe long term, but right now. But it doesn't mean he's not a really good player. And I thought the timing of his header was excellent. And it was a frustrating goal to leave away, because we've got 3 defenders. A, Bonner should stop the cross, and B, we've got 3 defenders there, and they all were nowhere near him when the ball goes in. And it made a challenge, because again, I go back to that lack of confidence, that or maybe lack of confidence in the fans, maybe apprehension is the right word for that. And then in the first half, we're not getting going. I did think the crowd stayed with them, to be honest. I thought that the moans and groans would really start about 20 minutes, and they didn't really. And I've got to credit the support for that. And then Porteous makes that decision. A ball that, having watched it, is 80-20 in his favour. Yep. He's going to win that tackle. He makes the decision to go in like that. Now, Stephen is just about to explain it to you folks. Stevie's a qualified referee. He referees games every week. And I'll be honest, at the time, sitting where I was in the stadium, I thought that's a harsh red, because, I've only got one angle and I'm a good bit away from it. When I saw it back, then it's a red card, because he's got the foot up, and if he catches Joe Aribo, Joe gets out the way. And it's a good job Joe gets out the way, because if he doesn't, it's a leg breaker, and he is going to be out for the rest of the season. It's really that simple. And managers have this phrase that I think we all sort of laugh at. He's not that type of player. and sometimes it's true. Yeah. But in Porteous' case, he very much is that type of player. He does this regularly. It's a defect, not only in his game, but I think in his personality, because he's trying to hurt fellow pros. Are we going to get to the stage where he has to hurt a fellow pro to get anything done about it? Hibs need to take responsibility. The guy's a danger to other footballers, not because his tackling is rough. I go back to Gaza, for example. Gaza could not tackle and was a danger to other people and himself, but that was his technique. In Porteous' case, it's decisions. It's, I will leave a bit on him. I will try and let him know that I'm there. But it manifests itself in violent conduct, violent tackles. And Stevie will say it better than me. Does that hit the, if you like, the level for a red card? Well, is it endangering an opponent? It bloody was. Was he in control of himself? No, he most certainly was not. Which is why he skites past the ball, really. Stevie, you know a lot more about it than me, but I must admit, I thought that the referee, who in Scotland do quite often tend to take the easy option, I thought he showed real good management of the game there.
I think it's key that he spoke to his assistant, which is what I liked. Both of them seemed to talk to each other, and they're obviously mic'd up. I think the key things is, is he endangering an opponent? Yes. He's a straight leg, David. His studs are showing. And not only that, he's over the ball. He actually tops the ball. People talk about him winning the ball. Just because you make contact with the ball or effectively slide on it doesn't mean you've won the ball. As you said, he was in complete control of that situation. And had he stayed on his feet and went through Joe Aribo standing up, he would have done it quite easily, because there's a physical difference in the way they tackle, etc. So that ball was him, but he chose to do that because that's the type of person he is. Now, we've had Koulibaly, we've had Barisic, we've had Morelos, and now we've got Joe Aribo. And the common theme is that he leaves a bit on it every single time. It's endangering an opponent. If Joe Aribo, and I don't believe there's a massive amount of contact, but going in that speed, if you're even touched, or there's a skiff of contact or whatever, it's going to bloody hurt. So he's done really well to kind of ride that as best he can. Is it wild and reckless? It absolutely is. And everything about it is wrong. But the key thing is, and why it's different from John Lundstram's tackle in the first couple of minutes is, and people will obviously say this, and they're already pointing it out. John Lundstram in the second minute does jump in, and he doesn't foul. So he kind of blocks him and blocks the ball. Is it a foul in terms of the laws of the game? Yes. The reason I say he doesn't foul him is because he doesn't hit him or impact him, and he doesn't cause Doig to move himself out the way or anything.
But it is studs are down as well.
Yeah, right, it is in the laws of the game. It's a foul. Is he going to get a yellow card for that? Most likely he is. So if he got a yellow card there, then we couldn't have argued with it. But it's not a red because he's not endangering his opponent. He's not reckless or out of control, even if he is off the ground. He's just putting himself in a challenge.
I would prefer if our players didn't do that. But just don't leap in because you open yourself up to. Now, I agree with you, by the way, on all the things. He's not going to hurt because he's not endangering the opponent, so that is the difference. But I just think as soon as you do that leap, then you're opening yourself up to a referee
because maybe seeing it or something like that.
Yeah, I just don't like it, and I don't think that the gain that you get for it is huge, because that was on the halfway line. It was early. Look, it's the old thing, and we love it in Scottish football. Let's be honest, we love
setting the tone,
the big early thumper. And I get, in the crowd, right, and everybody's bang up for it. I mean, Alex Ferguson used to say, "Man, that got the crowd going better than a goal," because it just fires everybody up. But we know that football has changed. We know that the rules are different. And I think that we're seeing again something. We spoke about this on the show a fair bit last season. I know we've all spoke about it on our own platforms. That the difference that we get up here is that people choose not to understand the rules, or I'd like to think that they choose not to understand the rules. Either that, or they're just too stupid to understand the rules, which is even more worrying. Because how then they can work a pair of trousers, I don't know. But it's this thing of, well, I don't think that should be the rule, therefore that's not a red card. No, that's not how it works, right? You're not allowed as a pundit to say, there's no contact, therefore it can't be a red. No, what you can say is, I don't like this rule. However, under the current rules, that the lack of contact doesn't matter and it's a red. That's doing your job.
Sorry, David. I find that the most frustrating thing. He didn't touch him. So does that mean that I can just go and karate kick somebody to the head? If I don't touch him, it's play on.
Yeah,
that's the frustrating thing on the back of the argument from yesterday for me.
Or if you swing a punch at somebody and you miss.
Yeah, of course. And you miss. People will bend the laws of the game to suit their narrative. We've seen it. We've seen a certain failed trialist who said nothing for the last 10 days become upset today because Ryan Porteous got a red card yesterday. Yeah, and it's all agenda. It's all agenda. And it really frustrates. It's the same as last week with the penalty kick. John McLaughlin, it's a foul, it's a penalty, but it's an attempt to get the ball. Double jeopardy rules are quite clear. There's no way is it even close to being a red card. But, you see the coverage that we got on the aftermath of that. And Sky Sports, I think on Monday, Dermot Gallagher spent about 3 seconds going, no, double jeopardy, that's it. It's not even close to being a red. But in Scotland, in the BBC, I think it was Sports Sound, I think it was Sports Scene rather, they all run with this narrative, should it have been a red, trying to create a controversy that's not there. Whereas you look at the other side of the city, who've already forgot about the Stonewall penalty that Dundee United should have had for a blatant barge in the back, which, by the way, is denying a scoring opportunity. And all of a sudden, we're all Masons and Masonic referees and everything else. It just frustrates me because there doesn't seem to be anyone out there that instead of in positions of punditry and stuff like that, James McFadden, I'll give him his credit, was very good on it and he spoke perfectly on it. But I'm talking about guys that are on social media and stuff like that. They're not interested in the laws of the game or discussing it fairly. They're only interested in causing controversy and bites and likes.
And clicks. Yep.
That's it. It's not interested in the balance or tackles or what it was. It's just, how can I create controversy? And unfortunately for us, Rangers being the biggest club in Scotland, we're the ones that create the biggest headlines. And what we've seen over the last 2 weekends is nothing short of people trying to create and bend rules and laws, like you're saying, to suit themselves. Not, I don't want this to be a penalty and a yellow card. I want it to be a red. So what you're saying, David, I completely concur. I'll jump in a wee bit on that, but it's just a frustration that I have that it's agenda-driven coverage instead of being proper football narrative.
Yeah, I love the thing as well with the whole leg breaking tackle. He's not touched him. But what you want then, you want to wait for someone's leg to be broken before somebody actually says something and calls that out. Because if he does make contact with him with a straight leg, that is breaking his leg with a high probability. So that's for me. He's like, oh, you can't call that leg breaking tackle unless he's broke his leg. Like, no, that's BS. That's all. What are we talking about?
That's why we have charges such as attempted murder. We don't wait and see if he dies. You know, look, he was. If it was me, I would have been raging if that red card had been given yesterday, but not with the referee. If it had been Rangers, I'd have been raging with the player because he creates entirely this situation and he's done it before. And the whole thing about, does he have a reputation with referees? Yes, he's earned it. He deserves it. In the second half, Martin Boyle dived to try and win a free kick and the ref waved it away. Does Martin Boyle have a reputation with referees? Yes, he's deserved it. He dives. So players in this very small bubble that is Scottish football, especially at the top end, which Hibs are, they're in the top half of the top division, then of course people are going to pick up on things, and I'm sure referees are going to discuss among themselves that player X is bad for this or that. So we saw that Alfie, and I think at times unfairly, suffered by it, and he had to change elements of his game to stop getting into those scrapes. So yeah, I think the old phrase, you're entitled to your own opinions, but you're not entitled to your own facts. And that's what we saw yesterday with people just surreally trying to change the rules. And, afterwards, I always think this is telling. Afterwards, a press conference, Jack Ross and Paul Hanlon both used the same phrase. They both said, he's given the referee a decision. That's code for, it was a red card. That's
following my player out. That's
exactly what it is. And I'm sure, I think when Lennon was at Hibs, he spoke about Porteous and said, I've tried. He just doesn't seem to take it in. And it is going to stop him reaching his potential because clubs are going to look at him and say, no, we can't have a guy like that who's going to endanger us by being out, by being suspended. It won't be overturned. There's no doubt at all about that. I doubt the referee looking at that thinks I made a big error there.
What's strange about it, he doesn't need to make it at all, David. I know you touched on that earlier, but he's so in control of that situation. I didn't even think he even needs to slide tackle. I think he can just go up there and get there before Aribo's getting, but he flies.
He makes a decision that I am going to go in and if I catch him, I catch him. That is literally the definition of endangering an opponent, and it's literally the definition of being out of control, because you're saying if I catch him, because I don't know if I'm going to, but if I do, I do, and he'll just need to live with it. And then, after the red card, and obviously the crowd gets a boost. Although, again, because of the mood that we've been in the last couple of weeks, people were saying, we're not very good against 10 men. You could, literally somebody sitting next to me said that to me. And I thought from then on in, and this is where we talk about bravery, Rangers started to do the things that I want them to do. Now, maybe not to the level that they can do them, that you spoke about earlier. Maybe not the level that they know they're capable of, but they mixed it up. They tried shots from outside the box. They were bloody awful, but they tried them. They got the ball wide to the wingers, and there were crosses going in, which is fine, but it wasn't only that. They were trying to play 1-2s round the box. They were trying to, find late runners into the box. They were mixing it up, and they were causing the Hibs defence problems. And that's why in the second half, there's the space for Ruth. That's why in the second half, a couple of bits of quality from the wings pay off. If it's just endless crosses, we've seen this with Rangers this season, teams get set for it. Yep. Teams, the defenders know they can stand in position and head the ball away. When Rangers mix it up, defenders are, do I need to run out and close because they might have a shot? Do I stay here? Do I follow him? Will he go for a 1-2? You mix it up, you spread confusion, and that pulls people out of the spaces. And Rangers are so good at it when they do it. Now, yesterday, when the first goal goes in, I think immediately, and having watched the game back earlier, if you then watch what happens with Rangers, again, this intangible thing called confidence that we speak about, form, whatever you want to call it, the passing's suddenly a wee bit crisper. It's a wee bit faster. The ball isn't just going quite slightly behind the player who's receiving it. It's back to being right in front of him. And suddenly Rangers are doing that. Then when Rangers go 2-1 up, well, as Stevie said, Hibs don't get near us because the Rangers players, they're in control. They're spreading the ball about, they're passing it. When there's a rare misplaced pass, somebody's in there to block it. It was noticeably difference. The 2 goals yesterday were like injections of adrenaline into the side, and suddenly all those little tiny things that haven't been going right suddenly went right. And it's not coincidence, it's down to just this mental boost. And that's why when we said this field with season, you said brilliantly, it felt like Motherwell last season. That's why it did, because the players seemed to react like this is a turning point. And
so
I think
Gerrard.
that Gerrard absolutely did at the end. Gerrard came into press conference and he was controlled, but he was emotional, and you could tell that. He's very good. Gerrard's not going to go in there and start flinging teacups about. It's not who he is, right? Nor is he going to come in and start. And I've seen managers come in and it's head in the hand stuff, and they're ranting and raving, and it's word spew basically. And Gerrard will never do that. He's very considered.
Yeah.
But you can tell when he's very considered, it generally means that he's making sure he keeps everything in check. And he was emotional yesterday, and someone from the press said to him, you seemed emotional at the end. He said, there's nothing wrong with showing a wee bit of emotion from time to time.
Absolutely
And
not.
I know that some people have been saying, I didn't like that because last season, when we won every game, that he was just business as normal. Yeah, but it hasn't been business as normal. That's the thing. The team have been playing poorly, and he knows that. And it was a huge victory yesterday, and he knows that. And I think that was a human reaction. Now, Steven Gerrard knows that we didn't win the league yesterday, and he knows that if we come back in 2 weeks and play against Hearts the way we played against Dundee, there's a fair chance we're going to lose that match. But it was big because we all know it as fans. We all left the stadium yesterday. I thought at the end yesterday, I don't know what you boys thought, but I felt yesterday was as close to an Old Firm game, people standing and singing and staying till the end, as you're going to get.
Yeah, it was, and I think, as you said, the reaction, the singing afterwards, and the all-round general feeling. You can feel it sometimes, as strange as that will sound. You can feel the atmosphere. I definitely felt that yesterday. I wanted to come back, David, to something you said in terms of Rangers doing things that are right. After the red card, obviously, they began to dominate and insert themselves in the game much more. Nathan Patterson suddenly became a huge positive in terms of weaponry going forward. At the end of the first half, for the last 5 minutes, we penned them in. He had a number of times he got to the byline, and this was one of the things that you'd said. And just to back up the point you were making, I totally agree with it, because instead of just looping them in, and he was firing some crosses in. Now, if you remember, there was a couple of deflections. There was a save. There was one at the back post that hit the boy and just went wide. And I think that's definitely given them the confidence, because at the start of the second half, immediately Nathan Patterson was away. He went down the right-hand side. The cross ended up with Borna, who drilled it in. I think Aribo might have kind of flicked it, but Macy blocked it and it went out. Yep. But that last 5 minutes in the second half set the tone for the second half performance. Lundstram followed it up. He had a shot from outside the box. Again, it wasn't very good, but it's backing up what you're saying in terms of we did mix it up. The evidence is there for that. And when Roof came on, it just changed the dynamic even more, because he played right up beside Alfredo.
I love that.
Which meant that we, instead of being predictable with Alfredo too wide, etc., he played right up next to him. And suddenly, Hanlon and McGregor had another question mark, because Roof's movement is second to none. I thoroughly believe that Roof's movement in terms of the front line is the best that we've got.
Yeah, agreed.
Some people might disagree, but I think
I don't think it's arguable.
And David, with me, I like Roof, but I think he frustrates me because I know that he can be so good, but I think he's inconsistent with it. However, when he came on, they did mix it up, and And another example of that was the amount of times that when Yanis Hadji cut in on his left foot or cut in on his right, Nathan Patterson also getting in on his right. So there was a lot of good play yesterday. If you look beyond the 2-1, which seems close, Yanis Hadji had forced two excellent saves. Nathan Patterson was in the right-hand side twice. The 2 goals that we do score. Scott
Hanlon's
Wright
block on Morelos' kind of volley as well. Mine, it's kind of going in, sort of, and it hits Hanlon in the arse.
Yeah.
Patterson has a shot in the first half that I think was goal bound certainly, and on Balogun's had a header that he probably should have scored. No, we made chances.
Chance wide about 34 minutes just after the red card. So what the point that we're all making and we're trying to make is that these things that, like against Dundee and previous match, even Motherwell at home, we didn't create, we didn't mix it up. We were very predictable, so to speak. It was almost like watching what we had kind of coached ourselves out of. Yesterday, 35 minutes on, and you can argue again that the red will make a difference, but it's not our fault he got sent off. That was on them. So it's nothing to do with us. We don't decide that. It was the correct decision. So on that, instead of we've been at games before, all of us, where 10 men have suffocated us, and you can't break them down, but we moved it quickly. We moved it side to side. And I think central to this, and this is a really good bit, to kind of break away slightly from yesterday and on to, because it's been a while since we've all been together, so I want to get your opinions on a couple of things, but it brings me on nicely to John Lundstram, because he started off, we all know the situation behind him and low on confidence, and maybe he's taken a bad red card, etc., and everyone's down on him. I don't think that John Lundstram is necessarily a 7 or an 8 either side, but see, as a 6 player, I think get Ryan Jack in next to him as well. Ryan Jack's a wee bit more mobile as such, and I don't mean that John Lundstram isn't, but I think John Lundstram's more of a considered player. Like, he spends time in the ball, he'll take his time on the passing and stuff like that. But yesterday, and slightly back to yesterday in terms of, see when Rangers went ahead yesterday 2-1, when Davis came on, see the amount of passing interchanges Davis, Lundstram and Juninho Bacuna did, because they're all comfortable and ballers on the ball. They were all really good at keeping ball and playing ball really well. And I think John Lundstram is strong in doing that. He's strong in winning the second ball. But my point being, something I wanted to come back to you both and ask is, in terms of our recruitment and where we are, I think it's really important, and we've got to learn the lessons of previously, that we give these guys time. John Lundstram has had a difficult start. Even in my mind, he still needs to prove himself. And that may sound harsh. I think I like the look of him at certain times, but other times, like Sakala, I think we need to give them time. CJ, we are guilty as a fan base of doing rash things and writing people off. I've seen it with Scott Wright. Scott Wright's maybe dipped in form slightly, or he's not producing, and we know, we've spoke about it a lot ourselves. Obviously, I really like him in with
you never mentioned
never knew that, yeah.
No, I would never guessed
we've jokingly over-egged it and stuff like that.
Jokingly,
I take jokingly that right now.
No, I'm sorry, I love him. But anyway, carrying on. But like, people, a couple of dips in performances and we're writing them off. We need to be, the point I'm trying to get to, we need to be more relaxed in terms of allowing these guys time. And it is difficult because it's, it's pressure build. We're all wanting results. But CJ, we're searching for form. We've got to allow these guys time.
I mean, it's difficult anyway whenever you're coming, you're joining a new team, a new setup, and everything like that, and then you're joining a team that isn't really playing well in total. It isn't as if everyone else is firing on all cylinders, and Lundstram, Sakala, Scotty Wright or something like that came into the team, and then they're sticking out like a sore thumb because they aren't producing and everyone else is. It's kind of a thing right now. We've not got much consistency off the park, and that's bleeding to the consistency on the park. So I always knew like Lundstram would turn it round, and in fact, because I did quite back him and everything like that. But after his first couple of games, I was like, oh no, this could be going actually worse and worse. But I'm proud of the laddie. But I mean, there's been so many examples of people coming in and taking a wee while to adjust. Barisic, who we've already mentioned, obviously had that horrific first year where I thought it wasn't going to get any better, because like the last game of the season, he gave a penalty away versus Kilmarnock, and I went, oh no, I really thought it was over for the laddie. I wrote him off.
Yeah, I did too.
I thought that was his last, because he came back in after Flanagan had been playing, and then he gave it away. I honestly thought he was done, but sometimes it just takes time and it takes a moment. for a player. I'm starting to look now. Lundstram seems to be picking up slowly but surely, getting stronger and stronger in his position, and I'm sure Davis is helping him along with that position as well and learning what the role requires. And I do. Everyone is kind of panicking about Sakala because he's not scoring goals and everything like that. I think it's just going to take some time. I mean, I think the magnifying glass is a wee bit harder now on the new signings because we haven't been playing so well. I feel like maybe if we were playing really well, people wouldn't be digging them out so much. But I think it's just patience, and I think it will take one moment from each of the signings, and it'll happen. And hopefully, Sakala's is against Hearts.
David, have you seen enough of the new boys to be confident? And I have. I've got to be honest. I don't look at Sakala. I know he's a bit raw and a bit, he's a diamond that needs polish, perhaps.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
I'm not worried about him. You know the point I'm trying to make. I'm not worried about the ones that come in.
Definitely. I think that Sakala is. I mean, he's really raw. He really is. For example, a thing like timing his runs to avoid being offside.
He's all go all the time, and
he's not good at that, and he has to learn to kind of stop getting overexcited and wandering through. Now, he won't have played for a team that teams use such an offside line against. That he won't have played against a team who has as much ball as that. So that's something that you've got to mature in, and that's something you've got to get better in. His touch at times can be absolutely brilliant, and at other times, second touch as a tackle, as the phrase goes. Yep. So there's a lot of work on him, but that was kind of one of the reasons we've signed him, and we're hoping that a guy who will improve over the next 2 to 3 years, and as you say, Stevie, become a cut diamond at the end of that rather than an uncut one. Lundstram was an interesting one because when he arrived, he didn't look fit. Okay, and that's something. I think he's one of these players. He's one of these players who I think, because of his natural body shape, see when you see him in the flesh, he is not a big guy in terms of his body shape, but he does look it on a football field next to all these stick pin. Aye, basically. No, it's true. Next to these guys who are more traditional footballer builds.
So he's not a Ronaldo. That's what you're saying is.
No, and he never will be. But nor is he fat, right? Yeah. Nor is he fat. He just he has he's kind of that Wayne Rooney body shape, that kind of just kind of bigger guy. But when he arrived, he was shit out of form. He got dropped into the team, which was also shit out of form, and he clearly didn't know how the team played. That was the first problem. And we were so used to, because we had a midfield that hadn't really changed for, 3-4 years by that, well, at least 2. We'd guys like Davis, Kamara, before that Jack Arfield, etc., Aribo. They all know what the team does. And we're a highly tactical team. Everybody has very specific jobs, and he didn't have a clue. And that's why in matches, it looked as though he was just wandering into places with no idea why he was there, because he was. He really was. That's why he ends up getting that stupid red card against Alashkar. Just frustration at getting in people's way. And he went away and he came back, and we're beginning to see what he can do. Now, I totally agree. Him and the manager have said a few times where he can play as a 6 or he can play as an 8. He can and he should, right? Maybe he can play as an 8, but he should not. Certainly not for a team the way that we play. He's a 6. He's brilliant at going in, winning the ball, recycling it, getting it moving, getting it forward to the guys who in our team, should have the ability to cut teams open. He breaks in opposition attacks, and he's got a commanding presence, all of which we need. There has been the thing about him and Davis playing together, can they? Well, let's be honest. John Lundstram signed with an eye to the future when it comes to Stephen Davis, right? Yep. Stephen Davis is still obviously an important player for us, but he is
21 years old.
Yeah, well, I wish, I really do, but so Lundstram is going to take over that role in an ideal world. Bakuna, I haven't seen enough of yet. I've seen certainly flashes of real ability from him, and I think that has been important. But again, in terms of writing people off, when we're frustrated, we lash out, and players who've got credit in the bank will tend to shout, understandably and deservedly, because they've earned it and we know what they're capable of. But I mean, it comes towards everybody when the team isn't playing well. I mean, this season I've seen McGregor and Davis are too old. Balogun, who had a couple of poor games but has been absolutely sensational, I think. over
Yes.
that.
Thank
I
God,
think.
by the way. Thank God he's so good.
I think he was, sensational yesterday, and he has been, terrific. Ballion wasn't up to it. Barisic had lost it. Tav's lost it. It's frustration, and it's just people being upset and angry, and it's not easy because I do it. We all do it when we're at the game.
We all do it, absolutely.
Why can't you be better? Because I know you are. We're not asking guys who don't have the ability, the whole Warburton thing. We're not asking guys who don't have the ability to do the job we've asked them to do, which is unfair on the player. I always thought a good example of that was someone like Jason Holt, who you got the level of performance at Jason Holt every week that he was capable of giving. Right. And therefore any criticism of him was unwarranted, because it wasn't that he was playing badly. He was playing as well as he possibly could, but that wasn't the level we need. It's different with these guys. They are good players, and they do have ability, and they do have the talent to go on and produce a wee bit more. But I think that this, right? Overall this season, we haven't been playing well. There's been bits. Stevie was. There's been in every game so far, even Thursday night when overall we were rotten. First 20 minutes was pretty decent. We just didn't build on it, and we've seen a good half here and there, or a good spell within a game. But we've kept the results at a decent level. Not in Europe. Europe we've been awful, and there's no getting away from that. We've had one win in 6 now, and against, in all honesty, a very, very poor side that we struggled to put away over 2 legs. But domestically, they've kept their head above water, and they've met the challenges as they've come along. Now, I'm a great believer that you can't bring ability back if it isn't there, right? You can't form, yes. Ability, no. And Rangers clearly do have ability. We've showed it last season. So I can understand where the manager and us as supporters are saying, do you know what? We get it. We haven't been good, and we need to get better, because we need to be, back to what Rangers are capable of. But domestically, at least, Europe's a different thing. Europe can run away from you quite quickly, and I think, based on the next 2 results, we'll know if it has. But domestically, keep your head above water, because there will come a point when everybody's back in the side and fit, and you're playing. Yeah, well, exactly. And we'll start murdering teams. And even in that run, there'll still be ones where we go away from home to a tricky game and win 1-0 and the performance isn't great. But to win titles, that's what you do. That's what you need to do. Now, we can't play like this all season and expect that we'll win the league, because it's unlikely. Not impossible, by the way, due to the standard of the opposition, but unlikely. You're giving them an opportunity. I've said it, and I stick by this. See if Rangers were to come back from this international break and go on a 2-month run of good form, that would probably put the league away, in all honesty, because it would build up a scoreboard pressure on the opposition that they wouldn't be able to handle. So that's the situation that we're in, and that, I think, is a frustration of Rangers fans, that we're not, in terms of ability and squad, neck and neck. In my opinion, people might disagree, we're not neck and neck with our opponents. We are significantly ahead of them, due to the fact that Rangers have played, at best, I'd say 50% of their capabilities so far this season, and there we sit at the top of the league, 6 points clear of the only realistic title contenders for us. So it's glass half full, half empty, depending on how you want to look at it. If you want to look at it and say, no, we're just rubbish. One of the silliest things I've seen is people saying, oh, well, if you actually look at it, maybe last year was the anomaly in Gerrard's reign. And it's like, that's just, because that is just so silly, because it doesn't take into account that you build things to get to a team, in much the same way as it wouldn't be fair, although they'll probably do it with Postecoglou, because it's going to take him 2 years to build a team. Any manager needs a couple of years, a few windows. The Rangers were a project, and it took 3 years to build us into a title winning team. So the idea of saying that you take each season in isolation, I think just suits an argument that you want to make. For me, it's a case of looking at the squad and saying, we know what we're capable of. We do understand that last year was a bit of a freak in many ways, right, in terms of the goals conceded for a start. The Rangers hit records last year, and when you hit records, it's an exceptional season. Now, I'm not expecting Rangers to match what they did last year. I wish they would, but I don't expect them to. But I do believe we've been playing about 50%. If we can even play about 80% of last season, Rangers will win the league by about 15 points.
That would be nice.
Let's throw in, CJ, I'm going to throw some context at you. I'm going to throw some context at you in terms of people talking about form and stuff, because it is interesting. This season so far, we've had 13 different back fives, including the goalkeeper, 9 midfield threes, and 13 different front threes. There were 6 changes yesterday. You take out of that team Hollander, Tavernier, Jack, Davis, and Ryan Kane, who were 5 mainstays in selection last season. We played 56 games last year. We lost 3 times. In terms of not a hangover as such, but in terms of physical and mental exhaustion into that, and everything that we've put up with so far this season, injury, suspension, COVID, unavailability, etc., it's pretty damn remarkable, in my opinion, that domestically we have done so well.
Yeah.
We've had some huge challenges which we've managed to overcome. We've not kind of recorded this season so far, so we can look at it as the whole thing altogether so far domestically. We've come through it pretty well. Yeah, we've dropped points at Dundee United, which was a poor performance result. Yes, we dropped home at Motherwell, but there's been signs elsewhere lately, in my opinion, that we're picking up. It's not so much sustained 90-minute stuff, but yesterday, as I said, for 60 minutes, I thought we were a lot better. But in terms of context and looking at what we've had to deal with, CJ, to me, I'm not going to say it's ever acceptable that we've lost games in Europe or something, but I understand the position we're in and why. And I think in terms of when you look at everything going into Old Firms, with no recognised first choice goalkeepers, etc., centre backs at right back, all sorts of nonsense that we had to put up with, I think we've done bloody well.
We have, mate. It's just one of these things. It's been more of a battle, like on the park and off the park this season, and like the players that we've lost. Something that Gerrard said, I think it was the press conference coming into this game just before it, and everybody saying the only player that's been available for every game has been Stephen Davis. And that's frightening when you actually think about that, and it's kind of gives you an understanding of why there hasn't been so much consistency on the park and it's not been as smooth, just because we've not been able to get these relationships again. We've not been able to get people on a run with each other, starting to get in a rhythm. We've just not had that at all, eh? But like you said, we're still top of league. We've made it further in a cup competition this season than we did last year during that campaign. Let's be honest with that, and that's us playing bad. We're in a semi-final, so I'll take wins with that, and I'm happy with that. Make it all the way there and win the whole thing. Europe's obviously going to be the one down, and that's where I've been really bitterly disappointed, if I'm honest with you. That's been my one where I've went, we've really lost belief in who we are and who we became in Europe. But as you always said to me last season when I was getting used to this winning thing, he was like, this is what it used to be like. So maybe I'm getting my wee taste of the new. But I just think over the next couple games, this international break, I'm going to say something I've never really said before, I'm actually looking forward to. Because that gives us a wee bit of time to get everyone ready to go, get the likes of Ryan Kent back in, Ryan Jack back into the squad. I think that will give us a platform, and then if we can pick off where we left off with this win over Hibs by beating Hearts, I think that will just be the confidence, because I can look back on this game versus Hibs and it just felt different, and I think Gerrard showed that at the end, that this could be the spark almost that we've been waiting to get us up for that 50%. We've been waiting for a result or a game or a performance. I thought it was going to be Celtic, but it wasn't quite that. But I think this, and I think Gerrard's release will get the players rocking, and I do think we're going to go ahead now and start finding some consistency off the park and on. That'd be lovely.
On that, Stevie, people, I think, understand the three of us tend to be in the more optimistic camp of Rangers fans. So this, what I'm about to say, might come as a bit of a surprise. Personally, I do think Europe's probably ran away from us this season. I think we've no room I don't think we've any room whatsoever for manoeuvre, and that's a difficult place to be. And now, if we were to turn the next 3 games into 9 points, then it's a radically different thing, but you kind of would have to turn the next 3 games, you would think, into 9 points.
All 3.
Yeah, so that presents a difficulty straight away. That puts you in an awkward position. And I do think that will be the thing that unfortunately does make a difference, or is radically different to the last few seasons. I think that we've given ourselves probably too much to do. I hope I'm wrong, right? And I do expect us to, the next match and things might look a little bit different. But I a wee bit too much to do now this season in terms of coming out of this league. Again, you never know. Lyon will clearly be through by their last game, and that would, if we need something there, but you didn't want to put yourself in a position where we're going to Lyon in that last game needing something, and it could well be what happens. So that might be the disappointment. And to be honest, now I know it'll be bitterly disappointing to the management team and the players who really do value their European involvement. If it happens, I might be wrong, but it would be a pretty decent comeback to come back. I think you've got to have something on the board after two games. And the fact that, we don't, and there's no doubt there's been a regression in Europe. As I say, we've played 6 matches. I think we've been awful in all of them.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
I think, I don't even think there's one you can say we were good or we were unlucky. Yes, we had a lot of the ball against Prague, but we didn't make anything, and they missed some absolute sitters.
That was a 4 or 5-0 game.
If they'd been clinical, then they could have put us away by 3, certainly by 3, no bother, and we wouldn't have had a lot of complaints about it, unfortunately. So I think that will be the thing. So that means that the league this season, as always, incidentally, league is always a bread and butter, but this year especially with the Champions League qualification and the attendant money that it'll bring is enormous to us in terms of being able to freshen up the squad, which certainly by next summer we'll desperately need to be freshened up. Against that, then it does mean that there's massive room for improvement in the cups, as we know, which was something that needed doing. And again, there will be a little bit of trepidation when we go to these matches, because you can't instill confidence until you have given fans a reason for that confidence to be there, and Rangers under Steven Gerrard have not done that in the cup. So this is a challenge for them. It's one that I think that everyone was aware of in the summer. So far, so good. Although you would have expected us to come through the ties that we've come through. We've got a difficult match at Hampden against Hibs coming up in the semi-final.
Easy, mate.
Well, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. But I think that is, this season domestic is now, wasn't the aim at the start of the season, absolutely wasn't. And in fact, I think a large part of the hangover was the disappointment from Malmo for both players and supporters. I think we were all gutted, not only by going out, but the manner in which we did. And I think that, we look at Malmo and Ludogorets and say that this Rangers team firing should absolutely have been capable of beating both of those and getting to the Champions League. So it was a huge opportunity missed, and it did hurt. I think now Europe this season, the Europa League is going to be that will be the main difference, I think, from previous seasons. The way to make up for that, and I know financially, etc., the argument is quite correct that nothing makes up for it domestically, but certainly in the hearts of fans, the way to make up for it, retain that league title, add a cup or two, ideally both, and then that people will go, right, fair enough, because then you have got guaranteed Champions League qualification next season, and nobody would expect us to go into Champions League, and tear it up. Certainly not in your first go round. I think you just need to look at Malmo and the kind of horrors that they're going through at the moment, and will continue to. I mean, they're going to take 6 pretty serious duffings, I think, in their group, but that wasn't Malmo's aim this season. Malmo's aim was just to get into it, get the intended money, and it's the same for us next season. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope that we duff Bronway home and away, and then we've got things will look different. I just think when you put yourself into a situation in any European group stage where you pretty much have to win all your games, you haven't allowed yourself any room for manoeuvre whatsoever, and I think that is a very difficult situation to find yourself in if you have hopes of qualifying. So, of course, then the next thing is we'll get to third at least and make sure that you're in the Conference League. And then the Conference League would be one that if a Rangers team was playing well, you would look at the clubs and say, certainly clubs that would be favourites ahead of us, but we would fancy our chances of having a real serious go at that. So that's the minimum standard that we accept. It certainly wasn't what we were after at the start of the season, but it is the minimum standard that we need to look to now.
CJ, as we round this up, and we are in a very good position, I think that's key. I think it's key to remember there's we talk a lot about form and quality, etc. We've got quality. The form will come, is my opinion on it. I'm not too downhearted in terms of where we are.
No, me neither.
I've got questions about the form. David, I'll tell you, I've been whinging a wee bit by my standards this last week.
Really?
So
Never.
yeah.
No.
So
wee bit, not
not overly, but
no,
in terms of me,
but for you, yeah.
Like a Stevie scale. Right, I get you.
We're judging on we're grading on a curve.
I get you.
By anybody else standard, he's been standing in the UB with a mic, with a megaphone, and a wee shout out to Ross, who's just finished up doing the capo after 10 years. And done a great job, and he will be missed. But by Stevie standards, it's Stevie's already got his Christmas decorations up. I'm not kidding.
But CJ, the
is Alfredo Morelos at the top of it? Honestly, Scott, right?
Jerry from the Spice Girls.
On one side. Sum up for us where we are in terms of your kind of happiness overall, etc.
Kind of backing up everything you've sort of said so far. We know we're no perfect, and right now we're no firing all cylinders, but we're top of the league. We're in through the semi-final, and Europe's obviously a very difficult position, but if we can play to the standard, we give ourselves a chance, and that's all you really ever want. So it's not always going to be doom and gloom for me. I remember even last season during our undefeated streak and everything, there was games where it was ugly and it wasn't great. So I'm just hoping we come back now fully fit, get a wee bit luck off the park, and that'll hopefully bleed onto the park as well. So I'm feeling all right, mate. And now we've brought this podcast back, man. Not to worry. But before we do wrap up today's video, shout out to David from Heart and Hand. Again, his links will be down in the description, along with my man Stevie from Four Lads Had a Drink. It's always a pleasure to come, have a laugh, and have a wee conversation about all things Rangers. But until next time, until next international break, take care of yourselves. All the best, and bye-bye.